So let us start the another chapter of toxicology, that is the diagnosis of poisoning. Diagnosis of poisoning is very important because without diagnosis of the poisoning it is very impossible to treat the patient. So that is why this is very important. But also a drawback with this diagnosis is that you will find the similar type of symptoms produced by the various toxicant. So this is rather somewhat difficult. So once you finish the diagnosis, okay, this is the speculated poisoning, then you have to treat the patient accordingly. Now let us start the diagnosis of poisoning. So diagnosis of poisoning has been broadly divided into six headings, and these headings are history, circumstantial evidence, clinical science, pathological evidence, experimental evidence, and response to treatment. So these are the heading by which means we are going to diagnose that the patient or the sufferer is suffering from this intoxication. So in the history, we are going to discuss about the health history of the patient or animal, current clinical history, diet, or you can say food of the animals, then onset of the action, then clinical science. So we are going to discuss under the history. So one by one we have to discuss, and in short. So in the history, this is going to give the suspected clue regarding the poisoning. And under the history of the patient, the health history, we are going to see the health status of the animals. And this has been about the history, health history of about 6 months. We have to ask about the health history of the suspected animal for 6 months. Then we have to ask about the vaccination, whether the vaccination has been done or not. If done, then it was properly or not. Then we have to ask to the owner about the medication to the patient. So these all are coming under the health history of the animals. And on these all basis, we are going to make some clues about the poisoning. In the next heading under the history is the clinical history. Which type of clinical history? The current. What these are? Where you are keeping the animal, is the animal are in herd or in flock, and how many animals are the sufferer? Is this animal is the alone, or other animal residing there also suffering from any symptom or giving any sign and symptom? Also, we have to ask whether the animal is purchased from somewhere, and we also have to ask about whether these problems are existing in the herd where you are keeping the animal. So these all are going to be kept under the current clinical history. So this is about the second point of the history. In third point, we have to ask about the diet, because this is very important while telling whether the animal is suffering from any poisoning. So under the diet, we have to see whether the diet is having any pesticide source. I mean, you took the grass or the other food material where the pesticide are being used. Then you have to ask about that, whether you have changed the food of that animal. If changed, then the food is contaminated with any substance, toxic substance. Then you have to ask with the owner about the drinking water, whether you have changed the drinking water or not, or whether the drinking water is taking from a source that is kept for very longer time interval, and you are giving the feed whether the feed is molded, means ki if is there any fungal origin is there. These things are going to be keep, and therefore on these all basis you have to speculate about the poisoning. Next under the history is onset of sign, onset of action. Why this is very very important? If the symptom appear in the animals very fastly or acutely sign and symptom appears, then you may speculate or suspect that that may be one of the may be suspecting case of the poisoning. So usually in acute case, you may say this may be there may be chances of the poisoning. Then you have to go through the other symptoms like the vomition, about the diarrhea in the systemic sign and symptom. And if the vomition and diarrhea with the animals is going on, that means that there may be some irritant is in the GI tract, and there may be producing vomition and diarrhea. So you have to be cautious and ask about these symptoms. Then you have to go through the other under the history, that is the last one, the clinical signs. Now you have to go through the clinical signs. The animal came in your hospital, then you have to see about the clinical sign, whether the animal is salivating, whether the animal is exciting, whether the animal is showing the symptom seizures, whether the animal is vomiting, whether the animal is going through diarrhea, depression. Then you may suspect the animal may be suspected case of poisoning. And after the cumulative all the symptoms or all the things about the history, you may approaching to say whether the case, whether the symptom are suspected case of poisoning or not. Next, under this one is the circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence is telling what are the things that is coming in the surrounding of that animal, suspected that animals. What the things these are? What about the condition of housing? What about the food and water you are giving? What about the environment? And what about the other condition or other indication? These all are coming under the circumstantial evidence where the animal is kept. Means house is there. So we have to go one by one. So first we have to go through housing, because housing of animal is the very very important. So why this is important? If you have your house where you are keeping the animal have recently painted, then this may be the suspected case of the lead, because lead is there, lead is poisoning may be occur. Or you have did some other chemical things in your house. What these are? You painted the room, or you have varnished the articles, you have used any chemical solvent, you have used any cleaners, you have used any spot removers. So these chemical sources may be one of the source of the poisoning. So you have to rule out whether the house where you are keeping the animal are adjacent to the these thing. Then there may be the suspecting the poisoning may be occur. Then you have to go through your animal house, whether the house is well ventilated or not. If the well ventilated is not there, then the likelihood of chances of the carbon monoxide poisoning. And if there is combustion of fossil fuel occurring. Where the combustion of fossil fuel is incomplete, then the toxicity may occur. If the ventilation of the house is not well, so now we have to see the overcrowding, where the house you are keeping the animal are overcrowded. If the overcrowded is there, then if the animal is gone through the CNS stimulant like amphetamine, and there the overcrowding is there, then this CNS stimulate or aggravate the condition. If the overcrowding is in the house, then you have to see these all things. You have to also see that in the surrounding where you are keeping the animal, where there is any industry is there. If the industry is there, then there may be chances of the industrial effluent or gases coming out from the industry. They may be one of the source of the poisoning. Then you have to also rule out that. Then you have to also ask about the housing, whether the house is sprayed with any pesticide or not. If the house is sprayed with the pesticide, then there may be chances of poisoning. Then these conditions are coming about the housing. So you have to ask everything. Then you have to go through the food and water. That earlier we have discussed. If you are keep giving the water to the animal, and that is the stagnant water, and that for the longer time interval, and by any means the water get contaminated by any toxicant, any poisons, then this is going to give rise the poisoning. Then you have to see where you have kept the food for the animal. They, if you, the moisture content is high there, then the grains may be contaminated with the mycotoxin or bacterial toxin or bacteria or mycotoxin. So you have to go through these all condition, whether you have to spread any pesticide where you have kept the food or the water. So you have to rule out these all things. So this is all are coming under the circumstantial evidence. Another circumstantial evidence is the environment. Environment is also very important. You have to see where under the environment, you have to see atmospheric pollution is there or not. You have to see whether the poisonous plant or animals is there or not. You have to see the type of soil, because the plant grown on the soil, and if the soil is rich in the toxicant, then it will come in the plant. And if the plant is going to be taken by the animal, then the chances of toxicity they occur. So you have to rule out these things, all the things, like atmospheric pollution. What it means, you have kept the animal or housed the animal where the industry are there. So industrial gas, vapor, dust are there. Then there may be chances, because of the gas, the vapor, the dust that is coming with the respiratory passage, because of the air pollution, and this is going to produce the chronic type of toxicity because of the gases of vapor or dust present in the environment, because of the pollution produced by the industrial industry. Next is you have to rule out the plant, the plant where you have kept the animal, whether these plants are poisonous or not. If the poisonous, then the chances of poisoning is there. The animal is there. If there a snake bite is there or some poisonous animal bite is there, then you have to also see these things. And the last one that I have mentioned under the environment is type of soil. So I have mentioned that the soil of the some area of the India are rich in nitrate, nitrite, then the arsenic also, then molybdenum also, then fluoride is also, and then the heavy metal is also. That means ki from the soil you are taking out the animal animal food and feed, or you are taking out water from the bore well, and if the soil are rich in these toxicant, then this will come in the water and this will come in the plant. And if you are going to give these waters and the plants to the animal, so in chronic cases or for longer time interval, these are going to produce the toxicity. So you have to rule out whether that particular area is rich in these chemicals or not. Now you have to go through the other indication. Other indication are also very important. Under the other indication that is coming under the circumstantial evidences are, you have to see the smell, where in the area where you have kept the animal. What is this? Whether the smell of pesticide is coming, whether any other industrial contaminant smelling is coming, then there may be chances the poisoning of because of the industrial contaminant or pesticide. Also, you have to see the symptom of the animals by looking the urine color. If the color of urine is pink in pink, then there may be the poisoning because of phenothiazine. Phenothiazine is a drug that are used for various purposes like anti-allergic and other therapy. So phenothiazine is usually going to give the color of urine pink color. Then you have to go through the picric acid. Picric acid is yellow color. So if the yellow color urine come, then you will tell that this may be because of the picric acid poisoning. The yellow color also from the furazolidone, phenacetin, and other chemical. And you may expect this yellow color of urine because of the picric acid, phenacetin, furazolidine, and other toxicant maybe. Phenacetin is a drug that we are using for the therapy of fever, like just like paracetamol. Then furazolidone is an antimicrobial drug. So this is for used as an antimicrobial drug, and if you are going to give for longer time interval for the animal as a therapeutic agent, then or phenacetin this also, then this may produce the toxicity. So this you have to rule out. What are the drugs that are given to the animal, whether this is and as per the symptom. I mean, if the color of urine is yellow, then you may expect this may be the one of the poisoning. So you have to withdraw these drugs and give their symptomatic treatment. Now we have to go through the other chemicals. The urine color become dark green. The phenols, cresols. So phenol is a disinfectant, and this is very much usable as a floor disinfectant. So you have to rule out whether this phenol toxicity occur or not. For that, you have to see the urine color. If the urine color is the dark green, then you may suspect, and this may be by the some other chemical. Then you have to go through the consistency of the feces of that animal, suspected animal. If the consistency of the feces is constipated, then you will find this will occur in the oxalate poisoning. This will occur in opium or morphine type of the poisoning. Then it means constipation occur in oxalate poisoning and opium derivative type of compound produce this constipation, or opium or morphine. Now you have to see whether the consistency of the feces is loose or it will produce the diarrhea. So you have to see all these things. So these things we have discussed. So we have discussed the heading like the history, that is rule out the diagnosis of poisoning. Then you have to see the circumstantial evidence. Then we have discussed these two headings. Now we have to go through the third heading, the clinical signs, and this is very important. Clinical signs of what the animals is showing, clinical signs and symptom. And you have to see system wise. clinical signs associated with different system of the body, like central nervous system, digestive system, respiratory system, then urinary system, then other musculoskeletal system. So you have to see the clinical symptom of the suspected poisoning animal associated with the different systems or different type of organ. Now we have to go through the first, the symptom clinical system of the suspected poisoning animal associated with the CNS, central nervous system. If the animal is convulsive and convulsion is there, if the convulsion, or you can say the seizure like symptom, seizure like symptom is coming, then you may suspect the poisoning is because of strychnine poisoning. That is the Strychnos vomica is a plant. This is a glycine inhibitor. So the excitatory symptom occur. Then you have to go through the insecticide like organophosphorus insecticide, carbamates insecticide, organochlorine insecticide. So these all insecticide are going to produce the excitatory symptoms like convulsion. Also you will find in the cyanide poisoning, also you will find in the lead poisoning, nitrate poisoning, phenol poisoning. But these organophosphorus insecticide or carbamate and organochlorine and strychnine, these are very very important toxicant which produces the symptom associated with the convulsion, and you can see the seizures. And this is very very important, and you have to rule out these things. Now we have to go through the coma. So coma is unconsciousness. So the coma spell with the COMA. So in case of CO, means carbon monoxide toxicity, that is because of the fossil fuel burning, this carbon monoxide poisoning produce the symptoms of unconsciousness, that is the coma. Then the rodenticide zinc phosphide is also producing toxicity, produce coma. Then barbiturates, as you know, the barbiturate is a sedative. This is going to produce the sleeping type of condition, hypnosis to the animal. And if the dose of that toxicant become high, then the animal gone through the coma. Then the other animal, other toxicant are coming under this are hydrogen sulfide, that is produced by the bacterial infection or by the bacteria present on the food. Then these all chemicals are toxicant are going to produce the coma or unconsciousness to the poisoned animal. And you have to recall CO for carbon monoxide. Another are barbiturate is also important because barbiturate is the itself a CNS depressant. So if the CNS depression is going on, that means there may be chances at higher dose this is going to produce the coma like condition. So this is easy to recall. Then you have to go through the symptom that is associated with CNS is ataxia. Ataxia means impaired coordination. There is no coordination. When animal is walking, there is no incoordination is there, and animal fall down. So that is called ataxia. And this is associated with the organophosphorus or carbamates like insecticide. These are the insecticide usually used for the use as a insecticide for farming, and these are very much usable. So this ataxia as well as the convulsion both are associated with the organophosphorus and carbamate toxicity. So this is very very important. Now we have to go through the clinical sign associated with the digestive system. So this is very very important and interesting. If animal is vomiting, irritating, producing diarrhea, and if there is nausea, that these all conditions are associated with gastrointestinal tract. That means the chances is that the irritation is going on, some burning is going on in the mucosa of the GI tract, irritation is going on. So these all irritation produce in GI tract is going to produce the symptom like nausea, vomition, and diarrhea. And easy example is a strong acid and a strong base, because this strong acid and strong base easy to recall, because they are very irritant, very much very strong irritant, and therefore they are going to produce an nausea, vomition, and diarrhea. Other than that, heavy metal, they are also irritant, like mercury, like copper, like arsenic, like chromium, like antimony. These all are going to produce. And also, again and again is coming organophosphorus insecticide. Organophosphorus insecticide is also very, very important one, because many times you will get the symptom of this organophosphorus insecticide. So this is also an irritant and producing the nausea, vomition, and diarrhea condition. Not only because of the irritation associated with organophosphorus insecticide, this is also because of the toxicity after its systemic absorption, that we have to discuss in the separate when we are going to discuss. Now we have to go through the next symptom is the constipation. So as I earlier mentioned, the constipation symptom is associated with the opium or opioids or morphine, because in morphine type of addiction you will find the symptom of constipation. So opioid, if a person or is taking morphine or opioid or poppy plant, they are get addicted as well as constipatory. So this is easy to record. And earlier we also mentioned oxalate toxicity also going to produce the constipation. Now we have to go through the symptom like hypersalivation. Organophosphorus insecticide and carbamate toxicity both are going to produce the hypersalivation. And the symptom that produce these two are, earlier we have discussed with the a dumbbell, DUMBBELLS. This dumbbell symptoms is associated with the organophosphorus insecticide and the carbamates toxicity, and the symptoms are D for diarrhea, U for urination, M for meiosis, that is the constriction of the pupil, then DUMB, B for bradycardia, then again B bronchoconstriction, then E for emesis, LLS, L for lacrimation, then S for salivation. So these, and L also for the laxation. So these means diarrhea. So these all symptoms are associated. So if you have to recall by recalling the word dumbbell, you have to recall the all the symptoms, almost all the symptom of toxicity associated with organophosphorus insecticide as well as the carbamate toxicity. Now go through that dry mouth. So when you are using the symptom, when you are using to nullify the symptom associated with this toxicity, organophosphorus insecticide or carbamide toxicity, you are using the atropine. Atropine is a muscarinic blocker. So this atropine is going to decrease the salivation, and therefore this is going to give the dry mouth. And this atropine is used for the therapy of symptom appear in case of toxicity associated with organophosphorus insecticide and the carbamate toxicity. Other agent or toxicant that produce the dry mouth are opioid, phenothiazine. Now we have to go through the gastrointestinal bleeding. So GI bleeding means you are giving any anticoagulant, that is the orally you are taking. If you are taking any oral anticoagulant orally, or any animal have taken oral anticoagulant, then the chances of gastrointestinal bleeding occur. So this one of the example is warfarin. And again you have taken caustics. So caustics, like a strong acid and a strong base, is going to charred the gastrointestinal mucosa. So if the charred gastral mucosa occurs, so this is going to produce the bleeding. And aspirin, as you know, that is a blood thinner, anticoagulant. So this is the blood thinner aspirin is going to produce the gastrointestinal bleeding. So this is concerned to the symptom associated with the digestive system. Now we have to go through the symptom associated with the respiratory system are dyspnea. Dyspnea means difficult in breathing, and pulmonary edema means in the lungs the edema is there. So dyspnea and difficulty in breathing is very much associated with the carbon monoxide, because this is going to combine with the this hemoglobin. Nitrate and nitrite is also showing the property to bind with the hemoglobin to form the methemoglobin. Then cyanide is also going to combine with the hemoglobin to form also going to form the methemoglobin. So these all are agent going to bind with the hemoglobin and going to reduce the carbon carrying property, and therefore they are going to produce the symptoms like dyspnea. So these all are very much easy to recall. Other than this carbon monoxide, nitrate, nitrite, cyanide, other drugs, toxicant that are going to produce the dyspnea type of symptoms are organophosphorus insecticide, carbamate, then the hypnotic sedative, because CNS depressant. This hypnotic is also recall, because hypnotics and sedatives are CNS depressant. So this is also a respiratory center depressant. So this is going to produce dyspnea-like symptom also. Zinc phosphide is a rodenticide. Then strychnine nux vomica. Then pulmonary edema. This is very, very interesting. And the two main toxicant, one is Antu, alpha naphthyl thiourea, is a rodenticide, and another one is paraquat, is a herbicide. These two are going to very much important, that are going to produce the pulmonary edema. And you would never forget the symptom associated with the Antu, that is alpha naphthyl thiourea, and also paraquat. And other than that, aspirin, irritant gases, then chlorophenoxyherbicide, these all are associated with the pulmonary edema. So this is about the symptom associated with the respiratory system. Now we have to go through the other part, skin, hair and nails. So for the skin, you have to see the color of the skin. So in case of the toxicosis associated with the nitrate, as I have mentioned, also in case of nitrate and nitrite, they are going to bind with the hemoglobin and form methemoglobin, and therefore skin becomes cyanotic, like a jaundice type. So you will see this is because the oxygen is deficient, because methemoglobin usually not able to carry the oxygen. Then other than that, the herbicide chlorate is also going to produce the skin color cyanotic. Then other system that is associated with skin is photosensitization. So photosensitization, in that you will find over the skin allergic reaction occur. And this you will find with one plant, we are calling it the Lantana camara, where you will find the toxic principle lantadine. Lantadine is triterpenoids, and that we will find in the plant Lantana camara. That is the common name is punchful booty. And because of the toxicity occur, this is going to produce the liver problem. And because of the liver problem, this is going to produce the photosensitization. And also associated with the phenothiazine. So phenothiazine is also associated with the many type of toxic system like urine color that I have earlier mentioned. Pink in color in phenothiazine type of toxicity. And next is the alopecia. Alopecia is the loss of hair. So you will find the symptom associated with the hair, that is the alopecia, loss of hair occur in the toxicity associated with the arsenic poisoning. That is chronic, should be chronic. So in the chronic arsenic poisoning, this is going to produce the hair loss, and also with the another toxicant thallium is also producing the alopecia, loss of hair. So these all are associated with the skin and hair. And you will also find some of the toxicant or agent or chemical or substance that is going to give certain color to the skin, like if the iodine is you are going to spread over the skin, you will find the black in color. Then picric acid, when itself yellow in color, and that and we are also using picric acid as a marking agent. So when you are using this picric acid over the spread over the skin, you will find the yellowish in color. Then also bromide, deep brown is in color. So this is going to give the skin color as per the agent mentioned here. Now we have to go through the toxicity symptom associated with eye. So this is very important. And two symptoms are, one is dilatation of pupil, that is mydriasis, and constriction of pupil, that is the miosis. So we earlier mentioned the constriction of pupil or miosis is associated with toxicity associated with the organophosphorus insecticide or carbamate toxicity. So you have to recall these two by meiosis, that is the dumbbell. You have to recall that dumbbell. Then other than that, the parasympathomimetic drugs like pilocarpine, muscarine, they are also going to produce the symptom like constriction of pupil or meiosis. So you have to recall organophosphorus insecticide and carbamate, then the other parasympathomimetic like drug. These all are going to give the constriction of the pupil, that is meiosis, and these all are associated because in these all you will find the neurotransmitter action, that is the acetylcholine activity on muscarinic through receptor, either muscarinic and nicotinic, they are going to constrict the pupil. So those agent which enhances the acetylcholine neurotransmitter or the action like the parasympathetic nervous system, they are going to produce the constriction of pupil or meiosis. And against that, those drugs that are blocking the action of acetylcholine over the muscarinic receptor or other receptor, mainly the muscarinic receptor, so the blocker you are going to produce the symptom like mydriasis or dilatation of pupil. So the toxic symptom of organophosphorus insecticide and carbamates are going to be blocked by atropine and hyoscyamine or the belladonna. So these all are the muscarinic blocker, and therefore they are going to dilate the pupil or produce mydriasis. Other than that, the drugs are cocaine, aconite, amphetamine, ephedrine, ether, chloroform. These all are going to dilate the pupil, so mydriasis is going to produce. Now we have to go through the symptom associated with urinary tract or urogenital tract. So in that you have to go through the most important frequent micturition or urination or urgency of urination. So this urgency of urination or frequent urination, you will find in the organophosphorus carbamate toxicity that we already discussed in dumbbell U. U for urgency of urination associated with the organophosphorus insecticide and carbamate symptom. If you these symptom, then you will find in the suspected animal, then you may say the toxicity is associated with the or insecticide like organophosphorus insecticide or carbamate insecticide. Other than that, the retention of urine is occur, the animals are not able to urinate, then the toxicity is associated with just opposite to the organophosphorus insecticide. That is the drug this that inhibit the symptom of organophosphorus insecticide by binding to the muscarinic receptor is the atropine. So atropine is going to produce the urinary retention, and other agents, toxicant substance are opioids, and also tricyclic antidepressant is also going to retain the urine in the bladder. Then other symptoms are hemoglobinuria. So hemoglobinuria is very much associated with the copper toxicity, that is the chronic copper toxicity. And this is other one is one herbicide that is going to use as to kill the herb, that is that weed, that is weedicide, that is chlorate, that is also going to produce the hemoglobinuria. So if an animal is going through this hemoglobinuria, then you may suspect the poisoning may be because of the chronic copper toxicity or herbicide like chlorate. And as I earlier mentioned, the color of urine here, the if the color of urine is picric acid, phenacetin, furazolidine, this is going to give the yellow color. Phenothiazine is going to give the pink color of the urine. Then phenol and cresol is going to give the dark green color of the urine. And these all color is going to give you the clue of the toxicity and suspected toxicity, and you have to treat the animal accordingly. Now you have to go through the temperature of the as a clinical sign. You have to see the temperature of the animal, and this is very very important. Under the body temperature of the animal is concerned, either may be more, either may be less temperature. So if the temperature of animal is the more, that is called hyperthermia. Hyper means more and hypo means the less temperature. So hyperthermia is mainly associated with if there is the convulsive type of symptoms, seizure symptoms appear in the patient, means ki muscular activity is increased in the animal. Because of the increase of the muscular activity, though going to raise the body temperature of the animal. And this muscular activity, convulsive activity or seizures type of activity, you will find in the organophosphorus insecticide poisoning. Then in that animal you will find the hyperthermia. And in other agent that are going to produce the muscular activity, increase the muscular activity, and are dinitrophenol pesticide, hydroxy benzonitrile herbicide, pentachlorophenol, then quinidine. Quinidine is also going to give the convulsive type of symptom. These all are going to raise the body temperature because of the musculoskeletal activity. And amongst these all, the organophosphorus insecticide is very very important, because this is coming again and again with the many symptoms like you have to recall by the dumbbell. Now next is the hypothermia. This hypothermia, how you have to recall the agent, that is the sedative and hypnotic. Sedative or hypnotic is going to sedate or keep the animal in sleeping condition. If the animal is going to sleep, then this is going to reduce the body activity. And if the body activity or musculoskeletal activity get reduced, automatically body temperature reduced, then this is going to produce the hypothermia. So you have to recall this symptom associated with the toxicity associated with the sedatives oblique hypnotics. Then the other agents and toxicant are the alcohol, opioid, phenothiazine. Now we have to go through the drug, the agent, the toxicant that is going to act on the musculoskeletal system are the agent which produce the lameness or the problem associated with the skeleton are very very important. Ergot toxicity. Ergot toxicity is going to produce the lameness. Next is important, very, very important, is the fluoride. Fluoride is going to produce the exostosis, or that is going to produce the bone problem. Bone become very fragile, weak, because of the fluoride toxicity. So if the fluoride toxicity occur, this is going to give the skeleton weak, and therefore the animal get lameness, and this is because of chronic fluoride toxicity. And selenium toxicity, that is also associated with the disease like the Dagnala. This is a an ergot also. These all are going to give the lameness to the animal. So this is very, very important toxicity in these all, the selenium, ergot, and chronic fluoride toxicity is going to produce the lameness to the animal. Then next is the muscular incoordination. Then muscular incoordination associated with, because we earlier mentioned that nitride, nitrate, cyanide, carbon monoxide, these all are going to associated with the hemoglobin. Therefore these all are associated with the carbon carrying capacity of the influence, the carbon carrying property of the animal. So less not carbon, oxygen, and so less oxygen is there, so body is not aerating, body is not respirating, I mean cells are not respirating, and therefore this is going to produce the muscular incoordination. Now we have to go through the next one under the this diagnosis of poisoning are pathological evidence. Pathological evidence is very, very important, because this is mainly concerned to the test, pathological test. Or so in this pathological evidence we have to go through the lesions and histopathology, and this is concerned to the pathology, and so that is why called pathological evidence. So under the lesion we have to see the lesion of animal externally or internal lesion. So under the lesion, first we have to go through the external lesions, that is associated with the pathological evidences, that is concerned to the pathology, that lesion, histopathology, both are concerned to the pathology, and therefore this is kept under the pathological evidence for the diagnosis of poisoning. So under this lesion we have to go through the external one. External lesion, you will find what these are. When you have to open the carcass, when you are opening the carcass, even though you are not opening the carcass, you will find the odor from the mouth of the suspected animal. If the through the respiration, or you are finding the bitter almond type of smell is coming, odor is coming, then you suspect the cyanide poisoning is there, or benzaldehyde is there. So in cyanide poisoning, bitter almond odor is coming when you are going to smell the animal from the from the respiratory exhaled air. Then garlic type is, smell is coming when you are going to smell the expired air. It will found in the phosphorus, yellow phosphorus poisoning, also in the arsenic poisoning. And even though when you are opening in the carcass, the GI tract, then you will find this type of smell. In ammonia toxicity and urea toxicity, you will find the ammoniacal smell. If you are going to see the smell, odor like rotten egg, this rotten egg, you will find the hydrogen sulfide type of toxicity. You will find the rotten egg smell, and you will find this is through the expired air. And disulfiram is a drug used for the therapy of alcoholism. So in that patient, if the toxicity occur because of the sulfiram that is used for the therapy of alcohol poisoning or alcohol treatment, then you will find the rotten egg type of smell that is will coming out from the expired air from the patient. Then the fruity smell from the expired air when the patient is taking alcohol. And then the other than the external lesion associated with the odor are skin and mucous membrane. So you have to see the skin and mucous membrane. So when you see the skin that is the jaundice type of color, pale type of color, then you will tell the animal may be suffering from phosphorus poisoning. Then naphthalene ball we are keeping in the, this is just like an insecticide. Naphthalene ball we are keeping to prevent the our clothes, our books from the the insect. Then arsine gas is also going to, naphthalene is also going to give, phosphorus is also going to give the skin color jaundiced or pale in color. If you will find the blue color, brownish color of the skin, then you will tell the toxicity is a carbon monoxide or nitrate and nitrite toxicity, also in phenacetin toxicity, and also in carbon disulfide toxicity. You will find the cyanotic type of skin, bluish type of clay, skin, brownish blue type of coloring of the skin. And the important toxicant are very very important, that is the carbon monoxide, nitrate, nitrite, then phenacetin. So you never forget these thing toxicant, because these are the very very important toxicant that we are going to discuss later on. Now you have to see the the color of skin flushed red or pink. This is because of the cyanide poisoning or alcohol poisoning. So skin color become flushed or red or pink. Pink is usually seen in the cyanide poisoning. Then you can say this is because of this cyanide toxicant. Now the yellow color, as I earlier mentioned, this may be the picric acid, this may be the acute copper poisoning. So acute copper poisoning is going to give the yellow color of the skin, burn on skin. So if you seen any burn over the skin, then this may be because of the caustic, like a strong acid and a strong base. So a strong acid and a strong base, if it has been spread out over the skin, it produces the charring of the charred skin, and this is going to produce the burn of the skin. Now the another phenols we are very much used as a disinfectant. So this is going to char the skin or burn the skin. And then the alopecia that we earlier mentioned, then the molybdenum toxicity, then the, if the irradiation, whole body irradiation occur, then this is also going to give the alopecia that we have seen in the cancer patient, treatment patient. Then the thallium, then the chronic arsenic poisoning. So molybdenum, chronic arsenic poisoning are very very important toxicant that is going to produce the alopecia, that is the hair loss of hair. So now we have to go through the condition of the carcass. If the animal took the organophosphorus insecticide, because of organophosphorus insecticide, or its toxicity is going to produce the convulsive symptom, seizure symptom. So in convulsion, the animal is going to increase musculoskeletal activity, and because of increase of musculoskeletal activity, the animal get lacerated, the carcass get lacerated, because in convulsion, animal is lying over the floor, that is going to be because of this convulsion, they are going to produce the laceration over the skin. So this is only because of the convulsive seizure that you will find in the organophosphorus insecticide. That is because of the convulsion. If you, and in case of lead poisoning, acute lead poisoning, because of the this convulsion, animal is also going to put the head or face over the wall, and because of that you will find the wound over the head, over the face, over the broken teeth because of the convulsion. So this is very very important. Now we have to go through the lesion associated with the internal lesions. So the internal lesion, when you are going to open the GI tract, when you are going to open the respiratory tract, when you are going to see the liver and kidney, another tissue and organ, while going through the examination, gross examination of the carcass, usually carcass, then you will find these type of lesion. Then these lesions are associated with the GI tract, are severe gastroenteritis. So severe gastroenteritis is associated with the corrosive substances, or you can say the caustics, like a strong acid and a strong alkali. Also corrosive in nature, you will find the heavy metal like mercury, lead. You will find also corrosiveness is there. Then other associated with the GI tract are color of the content present in the GI tract, or the color of the mucous membrane of the GI tract. So if the color of the content present in the GI tract or mucosa is greenish blue, then you will say copper poisoning. If the sulfuric acid poisoning occur, the color of that area is blue in color, and this is associated with the respiratory tract. And the important are that are, if you will find the frothiness in the lungs, then this is because of the N2 poisoning. So what is N2? N2 is a alpha naphthyl thiourea and is a rodenticide. So this rodenticide is going to produce the frothiness in the lungs. Then you will find the frothiness in the lungs. Also some other agent that is going to produce the pulmonary edema of the lungs, hydrothorax or pneumonia, and these agents are again the N2, as well as the important are paraquat. So paraquat as well the N2, these two are the very very important toxicant that are associated with the pulmonary edema. So you have to recall this symptom. So this is very very important. Then you have to see the organ like liver and kidney. Why we are going to see only these two organ? Because liver is called detoxifying organ. So most of the toxicant is going to affect the first liver, and where they are going to be excrete out these toxicant through the kidney. So mainly these two organ are the most affected organ by the toxicant, and therefore we are going to see the condition of these two organ in carcass. Other symptom are organ associated. You will find the lesions are hemorrhage, generalized hemorrhage in the body. And in case of one plant, eating of one plant, we are calling it sweet clover. So eating of one plant, sweet clover poisoning is going to produce. So you never forget this sweet clover poisoning. Because of sweet clover poisoning in case of animal, this is going to give the generalized type of hemorrhage, and this is very very important one. So this is associated with the lesion, external lesion. Now we have to go through the under the pathological evidence. We have to go through the histopathology. First one was the lesion, another one was the histopathology. Under the histopathology, you have to see the main organ that I have mentioned, liver as well as the kidney. So in the kidney, liver, you have to see is there any problem, if there is the bile duct proliferation. If there is a hepatic lipidosis as well as the bile duct proliferation is associated with hepatotoxic mycotoxin aflatoxin. So aflatoxin is a hepatotoxic mycotoxin producing the toxicosis. We are going to call it the aflatoxicosis, and that is going to influence the liver. Likewise, the oxalate and ethylene glycol, they are going to affect the renal. Other toxicant is also going to affect, and we are going to see the histopathology. Now we have to go through these 3 points that are very, very important, and these three are other diagnostic means of poisoning are analytical evidence. So what is analytical evidence? Analytical evidence is we are going to produce the analysis. So what is this? In this analytical evidence, we are going to analyze the sample. Which type of sample? It may be the blood, it may be the vomitus, it may be the urine, it may be the feces, it may be the GI tract content, it may be the tox tissue. So analysis, we are analyzing, so we are calling it the analytical evidence for the diagnosis of disease. Now we have to go through the experimental evidence. In experimental evidence, we are going to go through the experiment on the laboratory animal. So which type of experiment we are performing in this way of diagnosis? If the animal died, we have to take the suspected sample either from the died animal, that is the feed present in the GI tract, or any other material that you are suspected that is source of the toxicity. You have to collect it and give it to the experimental animal. If the experimental animal is showing the symptom, and you will correlate with the toxicant, different toxicant, and if you will find approaches toward a particular toxicant as per the symptom found in the experimental animal, you will tell it animal died because of, it may be because of this toxicant. So how we have to proceed this experimental evidence? We have to collect the sample like feed from the suspected food material of the animal. Also, we have to collect from the visceral material, you may have to collect the other material, inject it or give it to the experimental animal. And if the experimental animal is going to show some symptom, you have to correlate that symptom to a particular toxicant symptom, and then you have to tell कि this is because animal died because of this type of toxicant toxicity. Now the drawback with this experimental evidence or experimental animal evidence is that if you are going to test the belladonna toxicity by giving to experimental animal rabbit, rabbit is not going to show any symptom, because belladonna toxicity is producing toxicity to the animal because of the presence of atropine. And when you are going to give this belladonna that contain atropine or hyoscyamine or atropine like compound, the rabbit is possessing an enzyme, we are calling it atropinase, and that atropinase enzyme present in rabbit going to destroy the atropine. So therefore no toxic symptom of atropine occur, because the atropine already destroyed by the atropinase enzyme present in the experimental animal rabbit, also in the fish. Likewise in pigeon, if you are going to give the opium material to the pigeon is not going to show the symptom because associated with the opium. And now the last one is the respond to the treatment. This is also the important and the first that we are giving. when you animals or suspected poisoning animal came in your hospital and you are giving the treatment to that particular animal as per the symptom, as a specific antidote you have given some specific antidote, like if the poisoned by the organophosphorus insecticide, and if the symptom is coming like dumbbell and you have given the atropine, then you and the symptom disappear, then you may suspect the animal was poisoned by the organophosphorus or carbamate insecticide, because this one is responding with this one. So this is all about the diagnosis of poisoning.